diversity and celebrating that is important to you. As we look at the news locally and nationally and internationally, I don't think there's anything more important. And so I hope this thing can grow. I should have mentioned, too, when I was talking about myself and introducing myself, I do have a wife, Sherry, and 4 children. They're adult children now, and they've been a big part of my ministry and life. The topic I was asked to speak on was finding joy in unexpected ways, and as Michael has mentioned, our friendship is a way I've experienced joy in an unexpected way. I never dreamed that when I went to seminary that I would be close friends with people of different faiths, different faith traditions, and that includes Imam Majid Ali and Rabbi Reuben Barkin and other clergy here in Savannah. Finding joy in unexpected ways was not always something I welcomed. Unexpected ways meant an unexpected God. A mysterious God, a surprising God, and that made me uncomfortable. I knew God. I knew what God was like, what God wanted and expected of me. And I even knew what God wanted and expected of other people, and I let them know that sometimes. In other words, I liked playing God. And it wasn't until I recognized that and until I started having an appreciation for mystery and the unknown that I began to welcome finding joy in unexpected ways. One of the things that helped me was learning about the 2 creation stories in the book of Genesis. The first story starts right at the very beginning of the book, beginning of the Bible, chapter 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and so forth. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and so forth. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And as you know, the rest of chapter 1 is about what God and God's Spirit does each of those 7 days, including making human beings. The second creation story starts in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, right after the first story. It slips right in there. It's easy not to see the beginning. The first story ends after verse 3 of chapter 2, and the second story begins at verse 4. The writing styles of the stories are very different. Even the word used for God in the 2 stories are different. And God is very different in each story. In the first story, God is way out there, beyond us. In the first story, God is all-powerful, omnipotent, mysterious, immortal, cosmic, transcendent, unearthly. In the second story, God is very different. God acts a lot like us. He walks on the earth. He doesn't just make human beings. He specifically makes Adam and Eve, and he talks to them, and he walks with them, and he listens to them. He has a relationship with them. This is the God I was very comfortable with, and it's easy to see why. I grew up as a Christian learning about Jesus, and that's what Jesus did. He walked with people. He listened to them. He was relational and earthly, more human. So it helped me to realize that the truths about God in each story are not one or the other. They are both. God is both earthly and heavenly, both personal and mysterious. God is in us and beyond us. And so I began to embrace more of the spiritual, mysterious part of God. And also a key element in this was being introduced to the French theologian and scientist Teilhard de Chardin. I'm sure you're familiar with this quote: "We are not human beings seeking a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience." And so not only is God's Spirit is spiritual, we are also. And this has opened me up to experiencing mystery and the unknown, to experiencing joy in unexpected ways. And I like to call these experiences wow moments. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, the occurrence of two or more events that appear to be meaningfully related, but not causally related. In other words, they are meaningful coincidences. And I'm sure you've experienced them. I'm a big believer in writing down these wow moments. I discovered that if I don't write them down, I forget them. Now, there are a couple in my life I will never forget. When I was a struggling actor in New York, I attended a church that had a prayer and support group for actors. And we met once a week and shared what jobs we didn't get that week. And I had been attending it for about a year. And then we had a special event where we were encouraged to bring other actors to the group and to experience it. And so that night we had about 60 people there at the event. And there was this one new girl I especially noticed that I really wanted to meet, a cute blonde, but she looked way out of my league, and so I chickened out. I would introduce myself if she came back the next week, but she didn't. That week, I went to an audition thanks to a great character actress named Mae Glastel. Mae did the voice of Betty Boop in Olive Oil. She was also Crazy Aunt Bethany in that Chevy Chase movie, Christmas Vacation. She's the one that prayed at the table. I pledge allegiance to the flag, that one, right? I didn't have an agent, but Mae was nice enough to call her agent and ask him to send me to some auditions. The first audition he sent me on was for a production of Pippin that was being performed in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. What I didn't know at the time is that the people from Portsmouth had actually made a trip into New York for auditions for Pippin, and they cast everything except the role of Pippin. They weren't satisfied, and they came all the way back from Portsmouth to New York for this second round of auditions. Lo and behold, they cast me in the role. I called this agent up. He thinks he's found the greatest next big star. I got the lead role in the first audition he sent me out on. And I said to him, Jack, is there anyone, I have a car, and most actors don't have a car, and I will drive up to Portsmouth. Is there anyone you want in the cast that might want to ride up with me? He said, why don't you call the girl playing opposite you, playing Catherine? He gave me her name and number. I called her. She said, sure, I'll ride up with you. I drove to West 56th Street in Manhattan to pick her up. Knocked on her door. It opened. And there was that blonde girl that I wanted to meet 2 weeks before. And listen, that cute blonde and I had 3 glorious years together, dating and playing around until I met my wife, Sherry. That's a joke. That was my wife, Sherry. She eventually became my wife, Sherry. That's a story I will never forget because I see Sherry every day. But that's not the case with most of my wow moments. A number of years ago, I wrote one of these wow moments down. A year or so later, I was having a challenging day and was feeling pretty low. So I took out my book of notes and read this story about this event that happened a year before, and I had completely forgotten about it. Something that blew me away. And it made me feel so good to read what had happened. It reminded me that there is an all-powerful, mysterious God who is active in my life and in the world. And so I started a journal for wow moments. And I told myself that I wouldn't record just any cute coincidence. It would have to be something that would make me go, wow, that's incredible, something powerful and meaningful. And I figured I would only have about 3 or 4 of these incredible wow moments in my lifetime, but I've got over 20 in my journal now. And it's because I've written them down. I would have forgotten many of these. And so I want to encourage you to create a wow journal if you haven't already. It can bless you. It will help you find joy in unexpected ways. God bless you.